Welcome back, and we're on the last climb now. That's 11 kilometres climb up to Sestriere, and it's really started to boil over. Gotti and Escartin have escaped from the rest of the group. Armstrong, Contreras, Virenque, Ziller and Defoe, and Armstrong doesn't like that, and Armstrong there, you see him going after the leaders, Gotti and Escartin, trying to bridge the gap and leaving Contreras, Virenque, Ziller and Defoe trailing in his wake. A terrific counter-attack by Armstrong, joining Ivan Gotti and Fernando Escartin, as Ziller is trying desperately now to come back to the action with David and Stephen.
Armstrong, who came up to Virenque, up to Gotti and up to Escartin. He just rode up to him like there's no problem at all. Had a little bit of flurry when he caught them. Then he sat up, waited till Ziller came, and then once he got his breath back, he's gone yet again. So these final few kilometres up to Sestriere. But look at his face of this man here, the way he's so relaxed. Well, he's determined, but this is a different Armstrong, isn't it?
I'm glad I'm not there, Dave.
There speaks a winner of the Tour de France and the Tour of Italy, who's looking at the way Armstrong's going up. Now, come on, young man, you used to rip people to pieces like this when you felt like it.
I'm sure he's glad he wasn't there in '87.
I was going to say, you did this to people, didn't you, you see? The way you rode up that big mountain when they put the old oxygen mask on, La Plante, you were absolutely determined to give Mr. Delgado a bit of a fright, and you did, didn't you, eh?
Yeah, but it's amazing looking at the riders, looking at the racing today. It's you get so hyper and so into it. It's amazing. You kind of think these guys are kind of extra tourists, you know. But in saying it, though, like I'm looking back to my own career and just looking at a minute ago to Laurent Fignon, like we did the same thing ourselves years ago. You forget about it.
I remember the battle between Fignon and Le Mans one day.
Exactly,
the big man. They were ripping each other to pieces. One would look over his shoulder, rip the other one. The other one would come back, rip the other one. In the end, the elastic broke.
But I think now we're on the other side of the fence. You kind of forget about that. You kind of say, oh, these guys are unbelievable. But of course, if you flash back a couple of years, you will go back to many a time whereas in our generation there was similar rides as well, you know. But looking at the riders today, you have to be, you know, in admiration as to what they're doing.
But I come from a generation of supporters of Fausto Coppi, and the first time we finished in Sestriere, the first time he came up, Fausto Coppi won the stage. He went into Paris and he won the race by 28 minutes and 17 seconds. That was different in those days. He was a gifted man at every time trialing, riding, and he would just do what Lance Armstrong did, but he'd do that sometimes within a few kilometres of the start, and they wouldn't see him till the finish. That was something else, that was.
I was looking at the tomorrow's stage into Alpe d'Huez and saying tomorrow's going to be difficult for Lance, but I think that the way he's riding today, I think he's almost enemy, I think.
How would you like to see a picture of it? Look, ladies and gentlemen, I'll hold it to the screen. No, I can see, look, I'm showing now to Stephen. Look at the state of the roads into Sestriere. We've got a picture here in our handbook of the road, and this is when Carpio was gone. 5 kilometres to go, and he's doing the same thing. And this is modern racing. It's different from what it used to be in the old days. They didn't have the same team tags. They didn't have cars behind with telephonic communication to the rider up in front, cars following with spares on and handing up drinks. And they were spread all over the place and really became every man for himself on the old days of racing. But this man now is just showing almost old-style racing by attacking people, going down the road and doing it in fine style. Absolutely superb to see Armstrong prepared here to tackle the people. He had a lovely cushion this morning coming into the race, but he's now going to do all he can to take the stage victory and keep that yellow jersey. What a gutsy performance.
Well, let's just go back down the road a little and see how he did it. Look at this. There he goes, away from them as if they were standing still. It was a tremendous attack from Lance Armstrong. Already in yellow, remember, and this is most unusual. You very rarely see this sort of thing happening, where the yellow jersey attacks the rest of the field. And Escartin, Gotti, Ziller, they really had little that they could do to counter-attack this tremendous performance from the American Lance Armstrong on the road to Sestriere.
thread down the road are all the contenders for the crown. Alex Zülle then fighting his way back here. I've got to take my hat off this bloke. I've always been we should be totally impartial, we commentator, but I've been a great Zülle fan for many years. I think he's always been there or thereabouts. Well, having said that, of course, he has had great success as well in his successes in the Tour of Italy, but never seemed to have done what he should have done in the Tour de France. He's won the Tour of Italy in 96 and 97, second in Tour de France in 95, then seemed to go a bit off the boil, did Zülle, and last year in the Tour of Italy, he blew when he was really going to head off, and I thought grab the pink jersey. That happens to people, though. One day you can have a good day, one day you can have a bad day, and Lance Armstrong now heading up toward the finish. Yes,
you saw him there, Dave, behind the white line there. Like, if I was in Lance Armstrong's shoot there, I'd be keeping well out from there, because you're very close to spectators here. Anything happened, you get a fist in the face, wouldn't kind of be purposely done, but you can be very easily get hit by a spectator. You can very easily puncture. Any old gravel that's on the road is always in behind the white line, so he's taking some risks there, Dave, because the road is very wide, there's no one else on it, he has it all to himself, so Lance, keep out a little bit.
That's what I said about you being, I use the word calculating, it's not the right word, it's a chap who understood what you have to do. Stephen Roche would go into a stage, know what he had to do, and just what he said there, keep out the grip, keep out the spectator. I remember seeing one day, I don't know who it was, a chap stepped forward to take a picture with a very heavy camera, and he hit the rider on the head and virtually knocked him out on the chin, wasn't it?
That's me, Dave.
Was it?
No, probably somebody else as well, but I got one in the finish one day. And the guy put a camera, they got on the chin up, but I got 2 stitches on my chin here. So
it wasn't in the finish, it was on the way up.
That's right, yeah.
Yes, I saw it happen. Somebody just standing with his camera, swung round, stepped forward, bang! Yeah. Rather close to him. Of course, the chap put his head down, came forward with the camera and hit the man and the camera, and it was very nasty too.
What happened to me was the guy was taking a photograph of somebody else, and he had his camera swinging on his wrist, and he put it, there he is over there, and the camera swung out, hit me in the chin.
Oh no!
So, but that was in the finish one day.
Well, Lance Armstrong concentrating on the finish at Sestriere, the crowd waiting with bated breath, the public address system giving them information about where he is. They were looking for Italian victory today. I thought we might have got one, whilst Lance Armstrong was going to watch to see if some of his main contenders for the crown wouldn't get too far down the road. I thought he'd ride perhaps within himself, and that maybe one of the Italians take the victory.
He's riding into that white line, Dave. He's taking a risk there. He's giving his all, using his energy to make the gap more and more, getting it bigger and bigger. He's riding a lovely pedaling style there, but still he's in my opinion taking too many risks. Look at him going into the white line there. Okay, you got to go in the shortest angle, but at the same time, you could give himself a little, I always would say, at least a foot out or 2 foot even out from that white line.
Just look at his face. He's had the message over the headphones. Lance, we want to go, you go, and he's gone. And concentrating there, sitting with his hands right in the centre of the handlebars, that position of getting lots of oxygen into his lungs. Here, as 2 kilometres to go for Zülle.
34 seconds, Dave.
34 seconds of the gap then for Zülle between Armstrong. Just coming up towards, you see in the distance there, those buildings right up down the sky. It looks a bit like the Rotunda in Birmingham, but it's not quite as hilly as this in Birmingham, nor do you get bike riders in yellow riding up a mountain like this. And Lance Armstrong urged on by the crowd. The Italian tifosi, they are absolutely crazy when the Italians are going, but they're equally pleased to cheer on this man here. They know the story, the background to him. They have heard what he has to say in the race this year, and I think there's a lot of people, even the riders themselves, are going to pat him on the back after this one.
Oh, definitely. He's definitely. They're all. Lance Armstrong's a very likeable lad now. He was likeable before, but maybe a little bit young, but he's since been very well accepted back in the peloton. Everybody appreciates where he's come from over the last couple of years, and respect everything he's done, and it'll be hats off to him tomorrow on the start line, I'm sure.
Well, don't forget, if you want to send him a little sign saying well done mate, congratulations, send it to Lance Armstrong, US Postal Team, Dynapost, D-Y-N-A-P-O-S, Dynapost Tour de France. Any other favourites you might have in the race, maybe you're a Veront fan, whoever it is you've got in the race here, it goes to the riders, it'll take about 3 or 4 days to get it. A special system in France called Dynapost, D-1-A-P-O-S, Dynapost, and I wonder if in fact Bill Clinton's going to send a message through to him, or perhaps send him down a particular telegram, because this man is really flying the flag for America, and what a good time they've had. They had the women win the football team, didn't they, too, the Americans. Now we've got Lance Armstrong in yellow. They've had tremendous support, confidence too in the tennis players with Davenport and Agassi. It's really been a good run for the Americans. Today it's July the 13th. We had July the 4th with the American celebrating the performance of this man, Armstrong. Tomorrow's going to be July the 14th. It's going to be a tremendous day in France too as well. Can we get a French victor up on the Alpe d'Huez? Not if Lance Armstrong has to do with it, because see, you can see the determination on his face now. He's going to take as many stage victories as he can. So when we come out of the Alpe d'Huez and head down in towards the rolling roads of the Massif Central, he's going to be wearing that yellow jersey. He really is showing a tremendous amount of courage here to ride up toward the finish. I don't think, Stephen, he really had to do this, but my goodness, he's made a few people sit up today.
He has, and including ourselves. We thought he was capable of doing well in the Tour de France, finishing the first three, but never would have thought capable of doing this kind of a ride. So hats off to him, but at the same time, he's kind of must have felt so good today. Oh well, I'm feeling so good. The terrain is there, the riders, I'm feeling stronger than the other riders. So this is the day for me to do the damage.
And he's doing an enormous amount of damage, Lance Armstrong from the US Postal Team. And what a good job his team did though earlier on, Steve. Before you came to join me, I watched them there, the Frankie Andrews and the George Hincappies, big boys, 6'2", 6'3", very heavy riders, 79 kilos, having to do the driving to keep the field compact as we start on the first climbs of the day. The two big boys drifted away when they found it too hard for them, and then people like Livingston took over with Hamilton, and they drove it up toward the top of that big climb over the Galibier, the whole category climb, the Col de Galibier, and those lads kept him in contention. On the way down, Livingston crashed, Hamilton got distance, and then Armstrong had to fight it all on his own right the way in toward the finish after the Col de Galibier. He watched every move on that run in from the Col de Galibier. That was still with 68 kilometres to go. He stayed near the people who were going to give him a threat, and as the Stars and Stripes wave for the American coming through, I've never heard so many Americans being out on the race. They seem to recognise that a big thing is happening, and they've come here on holidays. All Americans in Europe who also said, I'll go down. The whole of the time trial yesterday, Lance said it when he was interviewed in the press office on Monday, that he'd never heard so many American people, seen so many Stars and Stripes. It gave him courage to keep on going, and look at the gutsy performance now.
One thing, Dave, is looking at Lance Armstrong's bike there. Shimano never won the Tour de France.
Wow, so there you are.
They haven't won yet either.
I never realised that.
At the same time, yeah, as far as I know, Shimano never won the overall in Tour de France.
There's something straight from the top drawer from Stephen Roche, my co-commentator today, who've been fascinated as I have by the way in which the US Postal Team defended Lance Armstrong. And then he had the courage to go with the top men, and then when the moment came, to attack them on this climb up. This is cycling at its best. This is American in the yellow jersey, the sort of action we've not seen before in the Tour de France. Certainly in the days of Le Mans, he was a very good rider indeed. He battled against people like Fignon, he battled against Hino. But today we see an American supported by an American team as Armstrong takes the victory in Sestriere and convincingly keeps that yellow jersey on his shoulders for yet another day. We'll check the times in for the people behind him. It could be Zuller coming to second spot, but no doubt about it, who's second, third, fourth and fifth, they'll all come up to say Lance Armstrong was the best.
Zulli's put up a good fight there because he's caught him overtaking Gotti and Escartin. So a great ride by Zulli again today.
Zuller, the Swiss rider, now riding for Benesto, coming back after his suspension, showing that he's still got determination to fight, but he's 31 seconds down, losing even more time. He came into the stage today 7 minutes 8 seconds down. Escartin coming up here with Gotti. Gotti this morning 15 minutes 46 seconds down, will improve a little bit on general classification. Escartin this morning in the 7 minutes 27 seconds down, so we'd like to see a little bit of movement. I don't think we'll see Zuller, Escartin going up into the top 4 or 5 places, because not far down the road, Alano and Murrow are fighting to keep close as they can do to Armstrong. But I do think there's going to be a big gap opening up back behind Armstrong down to second, third, fourth and fifth. So we could still be looking at something like between 4 and 7 minutes for the chasers. A big cushion for Armstrong as Escartin coming in here into third spot. The Camille Costa Blanca Eurosport rider gets in just ahead of Gotti, who tried to go away at one time but failed to make it. So he finishes third Escartin, fourth Gotti, and we're waiting for the rest to come in. It's amazing to think that Lance Armstrong has punched nearly 2 minutes out of Veronk and the rest of the riders coming up here. They were all together with, what, about 10 kilometres to go, was it, Stephen?
10k to go, they're all together there. This is the sixth in the lead.
And of those 6 then, he's now punched a hole, the thick end of 2 minutes out of people like Veronk, who tried spiritedly to have a go at one time. We also saw Gotti and Escartin going, and Zuller fought his way back up, but he's gained even more time today, Armstrong.
But he was still there.
Belton comes through.
Behind now now will be moving up, I'd say, very close to the first 5 now in general after today's stage.
Yes,
so
all these chaps we're seeing now, except for Gotti, who started out 15.46 down, all this lot are going to be moving up into that top 10 position. I feel certain of that. Beltran did a wonderful job today for Benesto and his team leader, Zulla in particular. Veronk working well with Gotti too, and a nice little ride too for the Kelme Costa Blanca rider, who's just gone across the road, the line at Contreras, who also worked very well for the... Oh, here comes Zulla. Because Lano, look at this. Lano's losing again the thick end of 3 minutes.
Yeah, but he's come back fairly well compared to what we thought earlier on, David. He got to ride in the final 15, 20k on his own.
And he's had Ertz with him because he's got one of the Lotto riders coming in right now. 2:51, nearly 3 minutes. And the Lano started out this morning 2:33 down on Armstrong. So it's going to be now 5.5 minutes, and even more. It is 6 minutes is going to be a difference for Lano, because the 20 seconds bonus for Armstrong. So he's going to be something over 6 minutes behind Armstrong going to the stage tomorrow. Dufo, well, he must have really blown a gasket because he was ahead of Lano.
Exactly, he was, yeah. It's Tonk off day, was it?
Well, he crashed, didn't he? So
no, his teammate probably.
No, it's Nardello, I think.
Nardello is, yeah.
And
Nardello,
Guarini coming in for the Telecom team. Guarini just coming across the line. Nardello, because that crash for Tonkov was putting him out of contention. All he's got to hope now to get some strength to try and get a stage victory. But the way he's riding earlier on, it doesn't look very much like it. I think there's been a Krov coming in, and Quintina Tola.
Salmon actually, Dave, I think.
Oh, what a day. Yeah. 3 minutes 50.
That sky is getting ready to open up again, Dave, I think.
No, this is Ertz, isn't it? The younger rider. Yes, it is. Ertz. He's in the under 25 competition. Could be moving up in that competition, I think. It was the Credit Agricole rider Magnus Baxter that was leading on the under 25 competition. But I think he's gone way down the pan today. It's not his sort of day. But Credit Agricole will be happy that they've got the green points jersey on the shoulders of
Bianca has been confirmed, Dave, as Mountains.
Yes, we did the sums, didn't we?
Confirmed anyway, so...
Yeah, I thought that because Piccoli only had, 37 points, and I reckon that Drunk's got 67. So a lot of changes today.
We know, is it? We know, yeah.
A lot of changes. Well, consider some of these riders you're seeing now. We're only, within a minute of Lance Armstrong when we're going along the bottom of the valley, heading in towards the last 2 climbs a day. Just shows the damage that's been done by that audacious attack.
We were waiting for that, but that never came. And Tyler was doing tempo the first half, and then Kevin took over. And they never attacked, and we kept Escartine and these guys in eye contact, so it didn't seem to be a big problem.
The big attack really came on the final climb to Sestriere when Gotti got away with Escartine, and you seemed to just float across to them when you attacked.
Well, I didn't. You know, they sort of, the downhill was really dangerous and very slippery. Motorcycles were crashing, and we were sliding all over the place. And Gotti actually got a gap on the downhill, and Escartine was with him. So it worked out perfect because those two were already up the road, and I could try and go across. And the first part of the climb up here to Sestriere is harder than the second part. So I wanted to, if I was going to make an effort, I wanted to do it in the first half.
Well, he did do it in the first half, but he really wrapped it up in the second half. Stay with us for more on this fantastic stage to Sestriere after the break. Welcome back, and confirmation of the stage result. Lance Armstrong really putting everybody in the shade there, finishing 31 seconds ahead of Alex Zulla and taking minutes out of many of the other big favourites in this 1999 edition of the Tour de France. Here's Stephen Roach with his thoughts on this amazing stage.
Well, I think it's even better than amazing. I think, first of all, this morning, starting the stage, everybody was wondering, well, what's Lance Armstrong's team going to do in a mountain stage like today? The question has now been answered. Second question was, well, how is Lance Armstrong going to fend for himself in the final if he's going to find himself with the likes of Zulla, Escartine and so on? That's been answered now as well. But then people are saying, well, how is Armstrong going to cope in the climbs and itself in general? And that's been answered, but in what a fashion. Like, he's been incredible today, and right since the start of the Tour de France back in Puy de Fou last week, he's shown incredible style and suppleness in his pedalling, and we've been talking about it on the time trial the other day, his pedalling ability and his style compared to other riders of the same level, and it's been incredible. We saw it there today in the mountains. He didn't even attack Gauthier and Escartin. He rode away from them in incredible style. I think it's been, we can talk about him all day, but the style and the courage and the fashion in which he rode the stage today. But any questions on today's stage have been answered.
Strange, great words indeed from Stephen Roche, a former winner of the Tour de France, and he should know. And here's the all-important ranking, the overall at Sestriere. Olano next at 6.3. Morrow hanging on to his third place just at 7.44. 8 minutes, 9 minutes, only 8 riders now within 10 minutes of that lead time. Richard Virenque in 9th at 10 minutes and 2 seconds. So the yellow jersey still on Lance Armstrong, but even more emphatically than ever it was 48 hours ago in Metz after his win in the time trial. A tremendous performance and a marvellous comeback medically for the man. Richard Virenque for Polti now getting into the climber's jersey, and let's just also mention Stuart O'Grady of Credit Agricole, the Australian, is now in green. Well, this will be an abiding memory for many years to come. The moment when Lance Armstrong left the likes of Escartin, Zuller and Gotti behind, and even the cameraman said, look at the gap, as he just pedalled away to a glorious victory. It was indeed a tremendous performance by the American rider from Texas. A great stage indeed for Lance Armstrong and the United States Postal Service team, who will be absolutely delighted with this. A word now from their US Postal team manager, Johan Bruneel. Everybody's been talking to us about this performance of Armstrong in the mountains. Let me tell you, I spent the month of May in the Alps and in the Pyrenees with him. I didn't say too much to him, but I could see that there was already a very well-prepared athlete. He was climbing well, we did a number of time tests, and I could see that he was strong. I was just left wondering about his opponents, because one never knows. I knew that Armstrong, going at his own pace, certainly wouldn't lose any time on them. I was quietly confident that he had the fitness and the condition to do a good ride in this year's Tour de France. But there's still opposition out there. The Tour is barely halfway through. So what about the opposition? We got the opinion of Eusebio Unzuer, the Banesto team manager. On the Tour, he said, I've seen some bad days for every rider. It's not what I wish for Armstrong, of course, quite the contrary. But from our point of view, I hope that the pressure of being the leader and all those other circumstances that have strong influences on riders could maybe bother him, and we and maybe some of the others could benefit from that. As for now, I'm satisfied because I can see that Zuller is feeling well, and with him, you know, everything is still possible. But the glory, without question, at Sestriere belongs, as it did in Metz and Le Puy de Fou, to Lance Armstrong. Alex Zuller did a great ride, coming in 31 seconds behind. He's now, though, 7 minutes 47 down in 4th place. But still a lot to go for. Let's look ahead to stage 10 with Stephen Roche.
The fact that he has some 6 minutes in the lead now ahead of riders like Zuller and Escartin and so on, he's giving himself a certain margin of comfort. But in saying that, I think nobody's out of the way of having a bad day. And one bad day in the Tour, like 2 minutes or 4 minutes or 5 minutes, is nothing. So I think himself, he's his own biggest rival for the moment, so he has to get to know himself even better and just bottle up the energy he has now and only spend it when he really needs it. The team's riders will be much more tired after defending the jersey for Armstrong. And of course, Alpe d'Huez has always been a mythic stage in any Tour de France. This year there's 220 kilometres of a stage, 3 R-category climbs, one of them being the Croix de Fer, which is one of the most reputed and hardest climbs in the Alps, before coming into Alpe d'Huez itself. And Alpe d'Huez has always been a dramatic finish. So tomorrow I think we will see another exceptional day in Tour de France.
17% of nearly 6 hours. So what's that make, Stephen? Can you work it out? I can't. You only got to work out time, Lewis?
I'll leave it to you.
Well, whatever it is, the back group, the bus as they call it, will certainly be working it out. They'll have it radioed back. They know what the time is. The enormous clap of thunder goes over the top of our head. We've had some thunder, lightning, hail, sunshine. It's been everything today. We've had a bit of everything. We've had a bit of everything too on Eurosport. We've had sprinting, we've had riders going flat in groups, small breakaway groups, good mountain climbing, and a wonderful exhibition of power from Lance Armstrong. All the umbrellas have come out. We've got a great shame at Sestriere here, as it looks like we're going to have yet another interview on your screen. Paul Sherwin on the right-hand side there, who said to me this morning that he got a quote which he couldn't use on air from Armstrong about what he was going to like, going to murder the so-and-sos today, and he damn well did so.
An incredible performance today. It's always strange to go into the mountains.
I'm not quite sure if we're going to get this one air for you back at in Britain. I'm just listening.
Especially after
I don't think we're getting the sound picked up.
8 days in the
sorry
north,
about the flicks on the screen.
No real climbing.
This of course will be an interview in
flat roads and
in English.
And then you have a hard time trial, which takes a lot out of the body. And then you have the rest day and the travel.
Over my headphones.
So it's a big shock. And I'm sure there were 175 guys nervous as hell on the start line that they weren't going to find their climbing legs, and I was one of them.
It was very hard earlier on. So the 175 guys in the start. Everybody was nervous.
Tougher than race
going into
especially when you have to transfer.
The first map
a lot of people said
yes, there was a rest day, but it was almost as hard as a normal day because we had the transfer as well. My team today was fantastic for me.
Those questions today, especially
that any question there was about their ability to defend the jersey was answered today, especially with the ride by Livingston.
Serious.
Oh, you have it, Someone's translating, is it?
15 seconds.
He was translating in Irish. We'll keep quiet.
15 or 20 seconds, and was confident that they weren't going to go anywhere, and it was beautiful.
After that first attack by Escartine, we're not a little worried that some of the other climbers would start to try and put you under pressure.
The attack on the Glivier. Yeah, I mean, we were waiting for that, but that never came. And Tyler was doing tempo the first half, and then Kevin took over, and they never attacked, and we kept Escartine and these guys in eye contact, so it didn't seem to be a big problem.
The big attack really came on the final climb to Sestriere when Gotti got away with Escartine, and you seemed to just float across to them when you attacked.
Well, I didn't. You know, they sort of, the downhill was really dangerous and very slippery. Motorcycles were crashing and we were sliding all over the place. And Gotti actually got a gap on the downhill, and Escartine was with him. So it worked out perfect because those two were already up the road and I could try and go across. And I knew that the first part of the climb up here to Sestriere is harder than the second part. So I wanted to, if I was going to make an effort, I wanted to do it in the first half.
The Italian crowd went pretty crazy for you. You were very much liked in Italy.
I lived here for 3 years, and I try my best sometimes to speak Italian, and I've had great friends here, obviously. The tragedy that we all had to live through with Casertelli, this whole country lived that, and this whole country had to watch that and had to try and recover from that. So perhaps it's because of that, perhaps it's because I've lived here, I don't know, but the Tifosi are crazy here. They're different than anywhere in the world.
Last question, did today's performance in the mountains answer your questions to yourself about how you would ride?
Yeah, but I still think that that I can have another. I mean, if I have a bad day, it's all over, and I have to stay focused. And if we came and we want to win the bike race, then we have to be conservative, and we have to be realistic and do everything, still do everything right. We can't sit back. It's too hard.
Thank you very much. Well, that confirms what Stephen Roche is saying, basically. We can't sit back, it's too hard, because that's the way with cycle racing. One bad day, and suddenly it's gone out the window. Well, I don't think we're going to have a chance to see Stuart O'Grady collecting that Greens Points jersey. I hope that in fact he gets here in time and inside the time limit. We just had a chance to shake Lance Armstrong's hand as he went through the bus behind and the commentary. and strong hand he's got, that man, and what a gift he's got to battle under the conditions. And tomorrow he's got to battle his way over these sort of roads you see here, going up and down right the way to the finish at the Alpe d'Huez. And the conditions are not going to be too nice either. We're threatened that we might have some more rain, and the conditions too in the terms of temperature aren't too good, between 10, 18 and 14 degrees. But up at the top of the mountain it could be even colder still, so it's going to be a tough day tomorrow for Lance Armstrong, and we wish him the best of luck then on the run in towards the Alpe d'Huez. So a lot of people in contention for the King of the Mountains competition and also for the points competition, but Armstrong dominated the race today in great style, getting the stage victory into Sestriere. A triumphant arrival at Sestriere for the man in yellow, and he's out again tomorrow with a cushion, but as he said on air, he certainly can't relax, and a lot of people here I think tonight are going to be the first to shake his hand, but tomorrow they'll be on the bikes determined to try and cut back that gap. He's got to be vigilant again as US Postal Team we ran about him. I'm David Duffield, thanks for your company. I've also been joined by Stephen Roche, who like me will look forward to joining us tomorrow. So until then, it's time to say au revoir, Adam out.
Showman, so I reckon there'll be a fireworks blowing from behind, even maybe before the top of the Croix de Fer, but definitely on Alpe d'Huez.
Well, I saw some magnificent fireworks last night when driving from Sestriere to the Alpe d'Huez, pre-celebrating the Bastille Day. The French love the fireworks, and those magnificent ones going up into the sky as these riders climb toward the top of this climb.
Erahnen nur, was in ihm vorgeht, das Temperament.
Well, up toward the top of the climb as Hulot leading Bourguignon, and they will go over here for the points in the King of Mountains competition. They're no great threat to Veronk on the overall classification. That's why he's positioning himself near the front, I think, as look at the big crowd that's turned out here. And so up and over the top of the Col de la Croix de Fer, after 165 kilometres of racing, go our two leaders, Hulot and Bourguignon. You can see there, that's exactly where the arrow is showing the particular position. They went on the drop off the top of the Col de Montceau. If you go right to your left-hand side there and see the other peak, they took off just over the top of that one, and Hulot goes first over the top of the Col de la Croix de Fer, and then Bourguignon behind, and the gap then will be coming back on your screen in just a moment. And there you can see the main group. The maximum lead they had was just over 11 minutes. I'm sure it's been coming down quite a bit as they get ready for their descent down into the valley, where we then start the final climb of the day up to the Alpe d'Huez. So it's 5 minutes 55 seconds, the gap back from the two leaders to this group here. And going into today's stage, Hulot was 18 minutes and 57 seconds down on Lance Armstrong. Bourguignon was 20 minutes and 29 seconds. A little bit of leniency by the main pack and by the yellow jersey in particular, but I think the action when they get towards the big climb yet to come of the Alpe d'Huez will certainly change the situation. And I just wonder, Stephen, how many of the riders that have been dropped off the back are likely to get back? Do you think that they'll try and put the pressure on Armstrong so these US Postal riders don't get back?
I wouldn't think so. No. They put the pressure on now between now and the top, I reckon. But other than that, it'll be a normal kind of a descent. I cannot see there being anybody taking too many risks on descent, because the descent is fairly rapid with a couple of little kind of stingy little bits on the way down, and there's very little in the valley. There's only about 5 or 6 kilometres there in the valley before you get to Bourdois Zone. So I reckon there will still be a number of riders who will get back on before the foot of Alpe d'Huez, but they're going to get blown out straight away.
And Veronk holding his position up near the front of that new white bicycle he's got there with the Coppi name written all over it. Coppi came over the top of this climb in 1952 in the lead. It was first climbed in 1947 when Camellini came over in first spot. And in recent history, Hino was over the top in 1986 first, 89 Tunisia, 92 Eric Boyer, 95 was Veronk, so he knows his way over the climb, is one side or the other. And 98 actually, 98 was Matt Massey. So we've had a new name on the list over there in 1999, Hulot going over the top of the Col de la Croix de Fer in first spot, Bourguignon in second spot.
Looking at Armstrong there, he is getting a little bit enveloped in the peloton there. Like I don't know whether he's actually feeling a little bit of a pinch there now, or if he's doing it for strategically. But normally when you're a race leader like that, normally don't go so far back into the bunch, especially coming up to the top of a climb, because going over the top, the final kilometre, so normally with enough other people both sides of the roads, gets a little bit dangerous. Someone could put a hand out and, you know, a bottle could fall onto a wheel, a musette could fall onto a wheel, or a raincoat fall onto a wheel, and so it gets a little bit dangerous. So I wonder, is Lance feeling a bit of the pinch here, Dave?
Well, certainly his support team have now been dropped off the back. He's on his own, but I think it's more the same for most of these rivals. See a couple of Mercato Nuno in there. I can see certainly one or two of the Benesto team with Alex Sulla, and the polka dot jersey of Ronk certainly has Gotti with him. The one or two, but maybe about three of the Calmi riders still there.
Armstrong, I was saying to you here, Lance, he's coming back up to the front now again, so you know, maybe it's just badly positioned because that's the way he got people were overtaking him, but I was surprised to see him back there, so he must have heard me there. He must have a the radio hooked into his team car must be also hooked into the Eurosport.
Well, yeah, actually to the team cars they don't actually get Eurosport, but they get the pictures that we're getting here on a little tiny screen, about a sort of 9-inch screen, little portable screens, and it's positioned either on the dashboard and the mechanic watches it, or sometimes it's down in between the two seats the mechanic keeps on. Sometimes it can be there so the team manager can watch it, but he has to be very careful. The managers don't like to watch the television set very much because they're driving their cars through a great mass of other vehicles, and of course bike riders coming back as well to them, so they can still see it on television. They hear the radio tour that we hear for the information and news coming through, and we haven't heard anything much about Mayer, have we? He's managed to hang on for grim death. Garcelli tried to go across and finally got himself sucked back in, but Mayer's still there.
There putting a bottle out to Mayer, David. That would not just be anybody at all. That would be somebody there to hand the bottle to the rider, because a rider would not take a bottle just the way with ease as Mayer did there. If it was someone he didn't know and he wanted a bottle, he would take a bottle, probably throw it over himself, just kind of screw himself down maybe and throw away again. But riders today would not drink a bottle given to him from a spectator that they would not know. So it's obviously someone from his team was planted there to give bottles to their riders as they come to the top of the hill, because if he was to wait for his team car is going to come up to him when his team car must overtake the bunch behind, then get down the hill to him, like so. Before he gets a proper drink, could be like a Bourdoisin, which is too late then for up the way. So it was a good idea there, planting a Massour or somebody from the team there to hand the bottles up.
So we might see some more bottles being handed up to the riders. They go just towards the top of this climb, because once we go over the top of this climb, we've got a big descent down into the valley before we tackle the final climb of the day up to the Alpe d'Huez. Richard Bronk now looking for the fourth spot on the climb here, because Mayer has gone over into third spot, and Richard Bronk then helping himself to more points. The chaps have gone over in front of him were the top three riders, not in contention for the polka dot jersey, so he's done enough today by being second on the first climb of the day over the Col de Monte-Cenis to get himself enough points to keep that jersey tonight. He's certainly not going to drop back behind this pack the way he's riding up here, and you can see the crowd urging him on. July the 14th, Bastille Day. The French doing rather well. They've had first and second over the top of the climb, and it looks like fourth place going to Veronk. Yes, it is. So Veronk getting fourth spot.
Look, Dave, like there's nobody going for the jersey. They cannot understand it, Dave. Yes, they said the very same thing again. No one even tried sprinting to come out for the jersey. I just don't understand it. Why there's less. There's no kind of interest in the Mountains jersey. It's one of the most prestigious jerseys in the tour, and there's nobody going for it. I can understand that, Dave. Can you tell me? Can you explain to me why in modern cycling they're not going for it?
I wonder if there's an acceptance that only one or two riders, or at most three, are in with a shout for the jersey when we start out in the Tour de France. We saw Piccoli early on really going for all the early points to get the points jersey. He knew he couldn't do any good when we got up into these big mountains here, but he did it deliberately to get him some publicity and some money, because you get money for wearing the jersey each day. I think he did that, but you're right, since then, once Veronk took it over, the shine's gone off it, the gloss has gone. There doesn't see anybody at the moment say, well, I'm going to race that jersey. No, though perhaps because the teams need the support, because let's, for instance, Hamilton and Livingston, they're both very good climbers, but they've got a job to do looking after Armstrong, so perhaps many other good climbers, except maybe the Calmi team who go for after anything, there aren't enough good climbers who are going to allow the freedom to do what Veronk's doing.
And welcome back once again. And we've moved on a pace now. We're now on the L'Alpe d'Huez climb itself with around about 14 or 15 kilometres to go. And as you can see, Stéphane Hulot and Thierry Bourguignon, the two Frenchmen, Française des Jeux and Big Matt respectively, at this point were still clear. And Hulot just giving a sideswipe to a spectator. Look at that. Got a little bit too enthusiastic. And Hulot said very quickly, on your bike, pal. Anyway, he dropped Bourguignon. More live now.
You see Armstrong there in second place. Zule riding flank there on the left-hand side of the screen there. We see Ascartin just behind the yellow jersey of Armstrong. But Tyler's doing an unbelievable job there, Davis. Really, I don't know where he's got the strength from, but...
What's happened to Olano? He just tucked back. I see one of the... Oh, steady, Tyler. Steady.
You don't want to bring Lance Armstrong down, do you?
No. So Escartin following up, and the polka dot jersey of Ronkin there. And I'm just searching to see where Olano's got to.
Well, he has a teammate in there, Dave, but I haven't seen Olano himself.
Well, Echeverria went off on that attack with Simon and Ertz, and they really tried to get away. Then they gave up on the run in towards the climb. They realised that they weren't going to make it.
Armstrong is looking very comfortable, Dave. We're looking at him there. He's just twirling those legs.
Yeah, well, that's Echeverria. And there, the Spanish champion riding for Vitaly Seguros. Casero.
It's the back of the group now at the moment.
They're drawing 1,000 deaths, aren't they, too, as well? So it's beginning to take its toll on them, as Nardello dropping up there. Nardello lying 6th on general classification this morning, 8 minutes 39 seconds for Mappe Quick Step. And there is Olano.
No, it's not Olano. No,
it's 57.
It looks like sorry, 51. Dave, I thought 51, yeah.
It looked very similar like the one, but I thought he wouldn't like this. Look at that, Hamilton burying himself here.
Yeah, he should actually maybe back off a little bit, because there's no way he's going to last to the top the way he's doing at the moment. Okay, you might say if he does back off, it'll encourage like Zule to attack maybe. But then he can, the way I look at it is if someone attacks, then he can calculate and change their tactics down to suit. But he's riding a very hard tempo there at the moment.
And this is the Alpe d'Huez. It's like this pretty well all the way up. It flattens, straightens out a bit up to top. And it's about... it's coming down, the gap's coming down now all the time. I'll keep your fingers crossed for him. 12 kilometres to go for the main peloton group, and still Hulot sitting here riding up, looking very comfortable. I remember the time when he had the yellow jersey in the Tour de France and he was suffering with knee trouble and he had to climb off on one of the mountains. He looked very distressed on that occasion, but he's looking quite confident now, the ex-champion of France, riding comfortably within himself on this climb.
It'll be interesting to see, Dave, how much time Hulot actually loses on this climb. But I reckon he'll be caught up. I don't want to kind of jump the gun at the moment. He's 3:30. He's already lost 1 minute now in the last 1.5 kilometres. So there's still 12 kilometres to go or so. So it'll be interesting to see now how much Hulot loses out now on the climb itself. The bunch seems to have settled down a little bit now.
Yes.
That Tyler's actually has backed off a little bit, because you can see that by the regrouping of the group itself.
On the left-hand side, Dufo.
Back in red again, Dave?
Back in red after getting fined that £2,000 yesterday for wearing the gold shorts, the Psycho Candel team. Now without Cipollini, who crashed yesterday and retired from the race. Just a quick recap, we've lost a lot of riders in this race so far today. As that yesterday, the number of abandonments, it brought our field down to just 167 starters, with Jay Sweet as the Lanterne Rouge. And the retirements yesterday were Salmeron, Cursipieu in the green jersey, packed it on, knocked on the head, so in fact the green jersey going to Stuart O'Grady. Also retired Fagnini, Cipollini, Copilolo and Conti. That was yesterday. And today we've had a lot of retirements, including Van Bon of the Rabobank team, and a massive dropped out from Lampre Dijken. We've lost Beholovic, the Latvian rider. We've lost Padrnos, the Czech rider from Lampre Dijken. We've lost Spruk, the Polish rider from Lampre Dijken, and the other Czech rider from Lampre Dijken, Sorada, has also knocked it on the head today. So big number of riders will be making their way home after this stage, and let's hope that the bus, as we call it, the people at the back, stay inside the time limit. It's going to be a big job today for them to stay within the percentage which is being inflicted upon the race. As the leaders cross the line, we press the button and back we go and chuck out the riders a certain percent behind. I'll try and find out what the percent is for in just a moment, but still I think he's still there, Hamilton, isn't he? Twiddling away.
I don't see Orlando, Dave. He is there. It looks like him, but
would that be him there?
Yeah, that's him there. Yeah.
Yes, Lano is there. Tonkov is there. Armstrong concentrating, Huxella up alongside him.
I suppose nobody wants to be the first to attack, Dave, because it's very difficult to succeed unless you have really, really strong legs. So maybe Azula is hoping that Escartine there on his left-hand side might go first and see what the reaction of Armstrong is.
There's Veronk van der Voer just going up there. You see in the black pants for the Lotto Movistar team. There's Dufo. And that's what's left of the main group. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. There's about 20 riders left in the group, and just up the road is Hula on his own. There he is on your screen, the champion of France in 1996. He finished 13th last year in the Tour de France. Didn't have any victories on that last year, mainly thirds and fourth places, and he won the Cholet Pays de Loire in 96. He won the Trophée de Grandpeur in 1996, so it shows he can climb, having got that success. The sort of big single-day classics, he was 6th in the Flèche Wallonne in 1995, and he won the won the Circuit of the South in 94. He won a stage in the Tour de l'Avenir in 1993, and in 1992 when he turned pro, he won a stage in the Étoile de Bessage, a stage in the Pyrenees, a stage in the Millau Breton, and also a stage in the Tour de l'Avenir. Most of those stage victories were up in the undulating parts as well. He's also quite capable of riding against the watch. He was in the French national team that won the team time trials, so he's got to be good at that. And I think right now his lonely time trial up here means that he's really set out his station. He can't do any more than just hope that the distance he spent out there is not going to sap his strength. He went away just after some 70 kilometres with Bourguignon, and now he's got about another 7, 8 maybe kilometres to go towards the end. The whole distance, say 220 kilometres. So he's probably done about 130, maybe 140 kilometres, he and Bourguignon out at the front.
It's a long time that I've seen a group of 20-odd riders after 2 kilometres of Alpe d'Huez. It's maybe it's like I said before, once again the calm before the storm, but it's very rare to have such a big group, especially with the yellow jersey starting on Alpe d'Huez.
Oh, it's only 3 minutes and 5 seconds to Hulo, so I think his days are numbered, and he could have done an extra 5 minutes in hand when he got to the bottom. He's
putting up a good fight there. I didn't expect him to, honestly, didn't expect him to be still so far ahead at this stage. But I just go to show you that the group behind him not actually going as fast as they normally would go, because they're going as fast as normal. The group will not be 20 riders. So Hulo, you must remember, has been out there for nearly 100k now at the moment, so 80k or so. So like the fact that the group is all together indicates the speed or the lack of speed on the foot of the Alpe.
Well, there is Armstrong on his screen. He's being led by Tyler Hamilton, who sort of broke through into the sport last year. He spent 3 years racing as a pro and hadn't had many results, but he was sort of unknown in the peloton until that brutally hot day in July when he stormed to a second-place finish in that first time trial stage, the Tour de France, and he finished just 1 minute back over stage winner Jan Ullrich, and many of the top sports riders said, here's a chap coming up. Oh, unfortunately, he was stricken with a stomach ailment and heat exhaustion a bit later on, 2 days later, in fact, and he lost 20 minutes and fell from 9th place overall to 160th. He fought his way back gamely to finish 51st overall, and one of the stream's strongest riders when it comes to stage racing. He's really been working hard here to keep the lid on the race. But
there we go. I don't know who it is, Dave. Beltran from Ernesto.
Yeah.
Probably this is what Azula's been looking for, maybe, is to just to wait to see the reaction from from Armstrong. See if he will maintain the rhythm, if he'll go and get him down straight away or what. But Belton as well down on GC, so I don't think he's going to really have some kind of reaction from Armstrong at the moment.
So there he's riding away, and he went straight past Hamilton, still leading that train. Some of you British people might remember he went out to watch the Pro Tour that he rode in the Pro Tour last year, and I think he finished around about 5th overall in it. And yes, he was 5th in the Pro Tour, and he went off to America to help George Hincapie win the US Pro Championship, and he came back then, back in the last year, did Hamilton to help Armstrong take the Tour of Luxembourg. Well, he's been doing the driving, but he couldn't hold this man when he went away. Beltran surging away, and now setting out his stall. Another one surging past Hamilton, and
Vinokurov.
Well,
Vinokurov from Casino, I think. Escartin's gone now as well. No reaction from Armstrong, Dave. I'd be a little bit worried now with myself because he's not reacting at all for the moment.
Well, Escartin now going up the road then this morning in 8th spot on general classification, 9 minutes and 1 second down on Armstrong.
The fact that Armstrong not reacting at all will give food for thought to the likes of Zule. They might think, well, okay, hasn't reacted to the others, maybe I'll have a go myself, maybe he isn't that good.
Well, he went yesterday, and we wondered if he destroyed himself on grading that stage victory.
No, it's not Escartin, Dave, actually. It's Gutierrez.
Because normally they send him off one at a time, don't they? Normally one of his lesser riders goes down the road, and then Escartin goes when he comes back. Yeah, typical tactics.
Or else if he sees what the reaction from the leader is, and then he might go himself. But Vinokurov there, young Russian guy.
No, Solomon, no, it isn't. It's Solomon 99.
Solomon is?
Yes, Solomon.
Oh, it looks very like him. Solomon, yeah.
They're very similar.
Yeah.
Now that's 99, Salmon, 10 k's to go. Well, Salmon looking back down here.
He's doing well, or Salmon. We thought he would have ridden with Gutierrez, but he's actually nearly riding away from him.
That's Hulo, they're catching him. Looks like Hulo's about to be sucked back into that group.
No.
Oh, I told her that's Belton, isn't it? Yeah. It was the lightest coloured jersey.
There's Escartin now, Dave.
2:40 it is back to the yellow jersey from Hulo, and now Escartin start to go. I think at the moment Armstrong's not been too bothered about Beltran, not too bothered about the rest of the riders going down the road, but he now has to look at
Zule is the man, Dave. Zule is the man that Armstrong is obviously calculating his race on.
Two of the Calme Costa Blanca Eurosport team riders are now surging away. Escartin this morning then into 8th spot, and it was 9 minutes and 1 second down, and this is a time then for Escartin to try and haul back some of that deficit as he goes up here. But Escartin also having a race within a race, because Olano, Moro, Zulla, Dufo, Nardello, Casaro, Escartin, Veronk and Tonkov, those are the orders down 2 to 10, and there's only some 4 minutes separating those top riders from the 2nd to 10th place. Armstrong, on a planet of his own, is in 1st spot, 6 minutes 3 seconds ahead of Olano, and the big test has got to come from Alex Zulla, 7 minutes 47 on Armstrong, but so far Zulla does not seem to have reacted to the attack from the Kelme team, with Escartin nicely placed behind his teammate. Good tactics.
Oh yeah, great tactics by the Kelme team once again. We were saying earlier on, you very rarely see Kelme on his own, but Zule should have reacted straight away, because he saw that the other two guys getting away, and no reaction at all from the yellow jersey of Armstrong. We saw the Gutierrez going away, still no reaction. Escartin going away, still no reaction. So Zule should have reacted there straight away if he had the legs. So I'm going to ask myself at the moment now, has Zule got the legs, or will he be content just to sit in there and calculate his race on Armstrong?
Well, they sent Belton off down the road to probably draw the string, to draw the power out of Armstrong, but there's no reaction from Armstrong either. Just, as you say, looking at Arno, looking at Zulla, and thinking, well, I've got a bit of time in hand. So Beltran may be allowed a bit of glory to try and get the stage victory, but he's going to have company any moment as the Kelme boys claw their way back up to him. Sitting in 2nd spot there is Escartin, typical build of a specialist mountain climber. They're almost like peas in the pot, aren't they? The Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport boys.
You never look at Escartin, like he'll never actually be on the wheel of his teammate. He'll always be either to the left of it or to the right of it.
So Hamilton's still leading here.
Yeah. But Zule or Duffield should try something here.
Tonkov moving on the left-hand side. Tonkov beginning to accelerate.
Zule, go.
So Tonkov's going. Tonkov this morning, lying 10th overall, 10 minutes 34 seconds down on Armstrong. Still no response from Armstrong.
Zule hasn't got the legs, Dave.
Did he do too much yesterday, Armstrong? Can he just hang on in there, or is he playing Doggo and only worrying about Olano and Zula?
I reckon that's what he's doing, Dave. You see him, Armstrong there going on to the front at the moment, but there's still, like Escartin said, it's 9 minutes down on GC. Even if he puts 3 minutes into Armstrong today, there's still 2 mountain stages in the Pyrenees to come, and there's also the final time trial in Futuroscope where Escartin must have 3 minutes at least in hand to hold off.
Here comes Armstrong. He's coming back to Tonkov. Armstrong's coming back, towing up Zula, towing up Dufo, and towing up Verong. I can't see Olano. So Olano's gone. Tonkov has now been reeled back in by Armstrong, who was just waiting by his time. He just drifted up to him, didn't he, again?
Yeah, Dave, just drifted up, yeah.
Well, perhaps not the right word, but
very strong, yeah. He's obviously calculating his race around Zule and Olano.
Well, Olano's gone. He's got rid of him. Looking back, see. Ulo ploughing a lone course at the front, went away just after some 72 kilometres of racing. The total distance 220 kilometres in all for the riders today, and Tonkov's gone again.
Yeah, Tonkov, unfortunately, Dave had a bad day yesterday in the rain. Zule's gone, Dave. Zule's moving.
We're watching those who glued to your television sets in the afternoon live on Eurosport, the stage up to Alpe d'Huez, which has seen so many classic battles in the past. This has been often the deciding point in the Tour de France. First up in 1952 was Fausto Coppi. In recent years, we've had Tunisa, Rooks 88, Tunisa 89, then Bugno twice, 1991, 92 was Hampsten one up here, Conti in 94, 95 and 97 was Pantani himself. It's a tremendous amphitheatre of spectators as the heat beats down on the specialist climbers, and Armstrong has to respond to them.
See behind there, Dave is having a bit of difficulty to hold Armstrong's wheel. Now everything is back together again. Armstrong has been very, very clever here. He's letting them go, but he's not reacting straight away when the attacks go, but he's making his own tempo, not worrying about them, but coming back nice and calm, nice and slowly. Now it's all back together again. Everything has to be redone again. Now he's still coming up to Gauthieres and Escartin, so basically everything has been nullified now again.
1 minute 50 is the gap then back from leader to the little threesome group there, and then to Griff Armstrong. So he's still hanging on, Ulo, and it'll be to his benefit, this stop-start reaction from these riders here, but he is really suffering under tremendous pressure to try and win the stage. The whole of France holding its breath, because this is Bastille Day, July the 14th. They'd like a French victory, but the French have got Veronk here at the back in the polka dot jersey, not looking too good, but he can always come back. You go through bad patches. Ulo has been trying to win the stage, but he might well be sucked back in again. And there is Vinokurov, the young rider for Casino, dropping back off the pace.
Bonn. Das neue Vermögensbildungsgesetz ist in Kraft.
And welcome back once again to stage 10 of this Tour de France, where battle was well and truly joined on the upper slopes of Alpe d'Huez. But Stéphane Hulot, remember, was still out in front, hoping for a victorious Bastille Day for the French. Let's go back to more of the action now as we rejoin Dave Duffield and Stephen Roche.
It's been a very hot day in the saddle, and now we're seeing Dufo begin to struggle. Dufo start this morning 5th on general classification, 8 minutes and 7 seconds down. All the top contenders for the crown, except Murrow, who got dropped further back down, have been sitting there or thereabouts with Armstrong, and one by one the attacks have been coming thick and fast. There's Armstrong in the yellow, the polka dot jersey for Verong. Tonkov in there, number 31. The two riders from the Calme Costa Blanca team. It's Escartin, who's the best placed man on the general classification, just a little bit ahead of his team teammate Contreras. And also in that group is Beltram for Banesto, Zuller for Banesto. They're leading the pack on their way up to try and catch Ulo, who's been away always since 72 kilometres of the race have been covered. We're now about 212 kilometres into the race to finish at the top of the Alpe d'Huez.
Well, now that Zule would know that Orlando has been dropped, Zule will probably try and make a reasonable tempo now to maintain the gap between themselves and Orlando. But this is at the same time as playing into the hands of Armstrong. It means Armstrong has no teammates, but at the same time, with the tempo being made steady enough, it help him a lot.
Well, it's 1 minute 1 minute 44 seconds, a gap separating Olano from Zuller this morning, and
Der Mann, der einst Asthma hatte, der Fußballspieler war als Jugendlicher.
Now they're just calling all the cars now to go back behind the yellow jersey group, because it looks like the gap is coming down here. 7 kilometres to go, maybe not enough time in the bag for Ulo as they're coming up towards him. Ulo still concentrating hard. And as far as the French are concerned, for Bastille Day, the chance of winning the stage looks like it's going, but can recover and have another go. You can never know in this bike racing game, because you go through bad patches, the man with the hammer, then you can come actually back again with a serious effort, but I think it may be too much. This is Bourguignon, who's been going. So tell us the story again about Bourguignon and the interviews with the French television.
Well, he's done a deal with the French television whereby he will commentate his diary on a daily basis to French television, and you have him sitting down on a chair, the chair turning backwards with his number on the chair, whatever it is, as being cut. The difference in the speed there. But anyway, they try to throw a few things at him, saying, well, Bergie, tell me Lance Armstrong, and he'll give you a few phrases on Lance Armstrong of the day. Ask him about a feeding station, ask him about the Galibi, for example. He'll throw in his own feelings at that time of the day. And it's come out to be very, very comical as well. And the French television have finally asked him now to, it was supposed to be a 1 week thing, and the second week was supposed to be another rider. But they've asked him now to actually go on for a second week, which is starting off, of course, which started yesterday.
Well, Thierry Bourguignon, for Big Matt team, he only had one success last year, a small little race at Riom-et-Montagne, and his best place in the Tour de France last year. He was 26th overall then, and he is 1962 he's born, so he's
33 going 34.
62 from 99.
Sorry,
he's
37.
37, yeah.
Yeah, 37. The oldest guy in a race, yeah.
37 when that's at Christmas. Another chap who doesn't get a birthday present and a Christmas present. 19th of December, 1962. So he's coming up to 37 years of age at the end of this year. So he's 38 now, and he's done a great ride today, Bourguignon, being reeled in by the main pack. He went off with Ulo. They gained a maximum 11 minutes on the main pack. They romped over the top of the climb of the Col de la Croix de Fer. Ulo took that climb just ahead of Bourguignon, but he's been sucked back in again, so perhaps he might dedicate himself now to television announcing, commentating, or generally being a man who brings out the facts and figures of the day. There we are, going through the colours you saw there on the stripes on the road. This is where the Dutch hang out in large numbers. You'll see the Dutch blue, white and red, or red, white and blue, whichever way around it is, and this is where they've been now for these 2 or 3 days, some of them, having a holiday, listening to Tour de France, watching it on television, and hoping that the Dutch rider would do well today. Well, they're not, unfortunately. Way down the road there, Bogart, having suffered with a broken tooth after he crashed on that day too, has been going through a bad patch, and none of the Dutch cyclists really going in the wheel marks of those Dutch riders who've done so well on the Alpe d'Huez in the past. The scene was set by Zoetemelk in 76, he won. Henny Kuiper in 77, Zoetemelk again in 1979, and in 81 it was Winnen who did it again in 83, and then Rooks from Holland 88, Tunisia 89. So they've had a very great deal of success, but not in recent years. It's been other riders, Bunyo, Hampston, Conti, Pantani and so on, that have been the victors on this critical stage of the Tour de France. It always sets a good scene, either for the stages yet to come when we've gone on into the Alps, and then or coming back out of the Pyrenees, the last chance to snatch the victory. So today is going to be a decision day before we run on down toward the Pyrenees, and it should set the scene, but you never know with bike racing, the undulations which lie ahead. Several days of rather uncomfortable work, I think, for the US Postal team to keep Armstrong in the yellow, but he's riding strong enough now to, I think, contain that yellow jersey. But the man who's really taken a bit of a pasting, Olano, started out this morning in second spot, is now dropping further and further back, and it might be that Zuller will leap over him into second spot on general classification.
Well, definitely, Dave. Orlando will lose out today, big time. and Zulu will be into second place now tonight if all goes the way it continues to go the way it's going at the moment.
Beltran trying to reel in this one lonely figure of Hulot, who's setting the whole of the French supporters' hearts fluttering on the hope that he might have been able to stay out there and get the stage, but they're getting close to it. The last time check was about a minute. We can't see much on our screens now because the sun is bouncing off the papers and off white things round about us and crowding out our screen, but I think it won't be long as we see all the vehicles going forward that they're likely to catch him any minute now.
Yeah, there's a lot of hassle back in the bunch at the moment, Dave. I think the photographers, the motorbikes and cars and everything else, you can hear it coming across race radio, the race director and the controllers on the microphone shouting like whatever to for the motorbikes to get away out of the way, and so that's not obstructing or even get a possibility of obstructing the riders.
So it looks like a last word of encouragement from his team manager as the gap is coming down, and before long the chase will be able to see Hulot still just riding quite calmly. He hasn't I think blown a gasket yet, but there are you've got the 21 climbs, 21 hairpin bends, and the British flag is in the background. That's the 6 from the top of the climbs that he has to take into account before he gets to it. A nice shot of a helicopter back to that chase group. He's still not in sight and he's still hanging on for grim death as the other players in the active today have their own part down there to fight out, while still he stays on. The longer those groups down below don't attack Armstrong, the more chance this man has got. 5 kilometres to go for a whole of France to erupt, and he deserves it.
Well, definitely, when it comes down to the combativity war tonight, I reckon it'll be a hard choice between himself and Bourguignon. But because Hulot has gone on to do even a little further than Bourguignon, I reckon the jury might actually give it to Hulot. But at the same time, it's going to be very difficult to choose because both of them have put on an incredible ride today, having at one stage 11 minutes up on the yellow jersey group.
And so I reckon, rough calculation, he's done about 140 kilometres either on his own now for this last little bit up the Alpe d'Huez, or together with Bourguignon, who's been reeled in by this bunch and spat out the back. The 37-year-old now still hanging on for the climb. How many 37-year-olds out there would like to ride a bike this distance, 220 kilometres, let alone race over the big mountain climbs that we've had on the course today? It really has been a tough day for these riders over the top of the Col de Mont-Cenis after 67 kilometres, and there the gap now is coming down to less than 30 seconds. And once we're at the top of the Col de Mont-Cenis, they rushed down the other side. Konashev won that climb. Baronk was second. Mondini was in third spot. Down into the valley, then up the other side, attacking the Col de la Croix de Fer, and it was on the descent of the Col de Mont-Cenis, around about 72 kilometres, that Hulot and Bourguignon went away. They threw caution to the wind, rocketed down the descent, and then climbed up the Col de la Croix de Fer, Hulot and Bourguignon, and they were getting up lead of something like about 11 minutes, the maximum lead, being chased by various riders until they came along in toward Le Bourg-d'Oisson, started up the climb here, and then Hulot and Bourguignon knew that perhaps it's going to be very difficult, and back went Bourguignon into the main pack, out of the main pack, but still soldering on with just a lead about half minute inside these final 5 kilometres. Hulot looks like he's in all sorts of trouble. What a courageous ride he's done today.
No, he's put on a great show today, but the final 5 kilometres, even though they may not be the hardest kilometres of the climb of Alpe d'Huez, when you've done 100 kilometres out there with one other guy going over the climbs they've gone over, it can be very painful.
It looks to me too as if Garini's got back there for Telecom at the back. See, we've got Garini's made it back up again.
Telecom was back on again as well.
Yep, so the Sting has gone out at the speed. Somehow they attacked Armstrong, didn't succeed. He pulled them back with a very confident way of riding, and now whether they're saying we need to get re-marshal our forces, or whether we can't attack him, I don't know, but somehow I think he's going to erupt again, and the man who's probably going to cause the damage could be Escart. He's hovering just there.
So you must remember now that Hulot is going to be caught. The stage is wide open again now, because with Hulot being up the road, it means you have one rider up the road capable of winning, so you're really only going for second place. So now they have Hulot now in sight. The whole stage now is wide open again, and I'm sure it will encourage someone to attack from behind. Maybe even Tonkov, because Tonkov being down on GC, Armstrong might think twice about going after him. So I say Tonkov being a very clever rider and seems to be going a lot better today than he was yesterday, and he's a good sprinter as well. I reckon he won't wait for the finish. I reckon he'll go before.
Well, here come the lunatics as ever. I'm sure one of these days somebody's going to drop down dead with a heart attack, because running up here, it's an exhausting thing to do, and it's stupid too, because these fellows can trip over each other, they can fall into the ride, and behind even too, they've got motorcycles coming. Lucky they don't get run over, but they just want to see themselves on telly, and I wonder when they get back and see it if they realise how, as I say, how stupid they look. I can understand enthusiasm, but there's a level to which you should contain your enthusiasm and allow the riders as much maximum space as possible. The car up in front is cleaving away through here. They've kicked the motorcycles out, thank goodness, because the motorcycles kick up a bit of fumes, don't they, when you're running here, Stephen?
Yeah, they do it, but at the same time they help push the crowds back as well, so you wouldn't really notice the fumes really, but when the crowds are there in front of you and not moving back, it can be more frightful than what it's worth, so the fumes really, you can cope with them.
But not the crowd pressing out and coming out towards you.
Well, it's dangerous. You get someone letting a kid step out or whatever, or someone sitting down and just jumping up off a stool the last minute and leaving the stool out there, like so. And people don't really realise that when they're under pressure like this, they just do things without thinking.
Well, we're seeing the Union Jack waving in the background. Lots of flags out today, and certainly the tricolour of France has been waving for Hulot, who's tried to win the stage on this, the Bastille Day, but he's been sucked back in these final 4 kilometres. The train comes through, led by Beltran, then Nazula in second spot. In the green and white, that's Escartin. Behind the yellow, Armstrong. Then in the white with the patchy colours on it, that is Tonkov. And behind in the polka dot jersey is Veronk. And we've got Guarini in the pink and white for the Telecom team behind. In the distance you can see the Pantanis, the flag flying for the Pirate. He's not riding this year. He's won it 2 years in succession. Who'll be the winner this year?
Well, here we are back again as we see an aerial view of the destination of Stage 10, the resort of Alpe d'Huez. Just remember, before the break, Stefan Hulot had just been caught after that long, heroic break. So now it was down to the big names with less than 4 kilometres remaining and the yellow jersey of Lance Armstrong amongst them. Time to go back once again for more action, described by David and Stephen.
Looking at Beltran here, he's putting an enormous stint on the front for Zula, isn't it?
He is, yeah, but he's riding Zula into second place overall. So the problem here is you've got an ideal terrain here to really blow the whole thing apart, or see what Armstrong has under his belt. And because they want to guarantee themselves, or put themselves in a position where they can feel more comfortable about Zula finishing second, Bertrand now is riding on the front with a tempo to try and maintain the gap between them, or maintain and increase the gap between themselves and Orlando, who was dropped there earlier on.
I was interested to see when the cam went back to the tail end that Hulot has got onto the back. He's not been lashade, so sitting in the back there shows that the speed is contained. Look, he's still there. I wonder if when his team manager came up to him and said, look, don't blow a gasket, just go at your own steady speed, which he's left something in reserve, because the rest of the opponent is going now. He's going. Yeah,
you'll always be able to hang on for a couple of metres there, because what they're doing is actually you're increasing your speed for a little bit of time, but straight away your heart rate goes up, and after 3 or 4 minutes, boom,
you've gone.
You're gone again.
There he is. Bomb is gone.
Bomb is gone.
Right then, so Beltran leads Zula. That's the order. The 2 men at the front riding for Benesto. Goodbye then, Mr. Hulot. Congratulations to you, putting in a tremendous ride today.
This is the hard part now, Dave, because you're going up here, the cars are coming up. The brake drums or the brake discs are boiling hot. The engine is boiling hot from climbing the hill in a low gear. The sun is beaming down the tarmac, the sun is beaming down your head. That's hard, Dave.
Especially when you've been out for something like 140 kilometres,
when I was, happened to me a few times when I got dropped, and when I got dropped, you just kind of say, well, okay, it's gone now, forget about it, let all these cars go past you and get back into the normal area again, because you die 1,000 deaths just trying to sit back there with the cars, because there's so much heat there.
Well, fortunately, the barricades on both sides are keeping the spectators back, so at least Hulot has got a bit of space in which he can ride. He's still in amongst the cars, he's still hanging on in there best he can do, but reality, the race is amongst these top riders here, 2, 4, 6 of them. Who's going to be on the victory roster at the end of it all? Certainly, the yellow jersey of Armstrong will be there to collect another yellow jersey at the finish of it. Who's going to get the stage victory? The polka dot jersey of Veronk, but he's got enough points on the first 2 climbs today over the Col du Mont Cenis and the Col de la Croix hard affair to keep the polka dot jersey, and providing that O'Grady can come inside the time limit with the bus, as they call it, the laughing bunch at the back, where he's sitting in with, the last we heard of him, still in there with Szabo, then at least O'Grady will be up eventually to collect his green jersey. But we won't be on air, I think, by the time he comes, because he could be something like 40 minutes down on this group. That was the situation yesterday when Armstrong won that stage. The big group came in 40 minutes after Armstrong had finished and had got his yellow jersey and gone off to his hotel. Well, still, Dufo's been dropped off the back too.
I was saying, hoping to be a reaction soon, Dave, because we're finally coming up to the final 2 kilometres to go now. So I would have hoped there would have been some reaction from somebody until now, because it's not going to arrive in a sprint, I don't think. But I wouldn't have thought so. Like, having a tool like out the way is to use to.
Look who's coming back. Dufo's coming back. Yeah. And it's Garzelli. Yeah, you're quite. I've never seen a bunch sprint finish at the Alpe d'Huez. They usually come in dribs and drabs, don't they? And Tonkov has just sat up. Look, Tonkov's blown. See how he just pulled over, put his hands on the top of the handlebar, boom, and he went. There isn't a racing cyclist watching this programme doesn't know that feeling. You go dum down, boom, and you've gone, haven't you? Eh? Wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, terrible feeling.
Zule is starting to bow now. Get a bit. If Escartin wants to go, now's the time. Should counter-attack to get across to him.
So Guarini with a 20-metre lead coming up here, now riding with the Telecom team. 20 metres, yes. Guarini then winner of the Tour of Switzerland. The Garzelli one though. Let's have a look. He finished somewhere up at the minute. Guarini had got down as a likely contender as an outsider. Yes, twice he's been third in the Tour of Italy. Twice third, Guarini, in the Tour of Italy. If you can do that, it means you can climb, and he's doing very well indeed. He fought his way back up that group. Yeah, he fought his way back at the gig. He got dropped at the bottom. He came back up, and I don't think they said, well, this chap's going to be any good. He's been dropped already, but he must be getting his breath back. And our German colleagues on the Eurosport German side, I'm sure, we're very pleased to see that at least they've got something to talk about now, because Szabo, having crashed early on, didn't get any good sprints under his belt, and with Ulrich out with a bad knee, Telecom needs something at the moment. Guarini's going for the stage victory as Escartin tries to come back up, and Zuller gets alongside him. Zuller at the white and blue Bonesto, the green and white and blue here of Escartin.
Yeah, there's a lot of tired men there. I would expect to see some kind of a counter now from Virenque. He seems to be a little bit tired as well, but I think he'll have a go just for the show, I reckon. If he can finish second on the stage, okay, it's not as good as first, but it's better than finish third.
So Guarini then third in the Tour of Italy in 1997, third in the Tour of Italy in 1998. He won a stage in the Tour of Italy in 98, stayed in the Route du Sud in 1998, and a stage in the Tour of Portugal in 1998. So the specialist when it comes to stage racing, as Veronk now starts to go. Veronk could be sitting at the back as if he was a bit cooked, and now he's going, and Armstrong's out the saddle chasing after Zuller. I don't know if he's going to pull back. Veronk, I'm bothered about that. He wants to get on Zuller's wheel, and again Tonkov, who had a bit of a pasting further back, has dug deep in his reserve and come back again.
Yeah, he's left a bit later to go after Guarini, I think. Virenque now, I'd say, he'll have another go again, because he can smell the whitewash. He sees all the people around him, and once again it is July 14th, so he's a showman as well. So
and they shot one rider up. Beltran's gone, hasn't he? And we've lost also the other rider from the Kelme team, who have been doing quite a bit of work there to keep Escartin in position. So he's gone off too. Contreras has dropped off the back. So there's Guarini down the road, then Tonkov in the blue pants, then the blue with the white stripe is Zuller, the green pants, that is Escartin, yellow Armstrong, and back here in the polka dot jersey, Veronk. Well, they swing round, and about 200 metres to go in toward the finish. There's sharp left bend, it sort of flattens out, then it goes back up again. This could be down to a 4 or 5 man sprint. Guarini, though, is still trying to stay away, and I think he might get it the way he's going. He's really gritting his teeth here. Typical.
I reckon Dave, he has it now, because they're behind, they're looking at each other, and the legs this guy has now at the moment, he's going very, very strong. So I don't know, I find it very difficult to see him being caught now.
Just 1.78 metres tall, 65 kilograms in weight. So here he comes from Vetova in Italy. Been a pro since 1993, been coming good in these last couple of years. So Guarini, the investment that Telecom made in putting him in the team was originally to ride with Ulrich and give him some help in the mountains, but he's having that try for a stage victory. Will he get there? Will Tonkov pull him back? Tonkov's been going through hell and high water, and he keeps recovering and then going down the road and blowing up again. Has he got it just right this time?
If Guerini does get the win today, David, it'll be the first result for the Telecom team since the start of the Tour. The Telecom team, who have been used to in the last couple of years with a win in Tour de France with Rees, then again with Ulrich, and other stage wins with Zabel and so on and so forth. So if Guerini can get to the finish here today and win the stage, it'll be the first result for them.
Well, for Mappe, they've had Tom Steele sprinting well when he had a couple of stages, and then he got disqualified on one side. Oh, the crate! Oh, no! Oh, this is just the thing we do not like in the spectators who come and do stupid things. We talked about this before, and it's happened again right far away. That man ought to be taken away by the police and locked up for the rest of the week. Look at that stupid man. Watch him on your screens. Anybody knows him, just say when you see him again, you nearly destroyed this man's chance in the Tour de France, and if he doesn't get the stage victory, I would not like to be friends with that man ever in my life again. How disgusting.
You've said it all, Dave. And keeping it polite as well.
Yes.
Stupid, Dave.
Absolutely stupid. And it's been barriered off. They know these riders have been riding. He's done 218 kilometres. He's been over 2 great big mountain climbs. A man's been siding on the side there, and he stands out there to take a picture. That is stupidity itself. I've never seen anything so stupid in all my life.
Well, justice has been done, Dave. I think he's going to win the stage. But at the same time, photographers have been people standing with the cameras on the side of the road have been the cause of many accidents. If you remember in Armstrong a few years ago with Tom Steele and Lauren Jalabert, a policeman taking a photograph brought down the two of them, and it was very, very bad.
Well, he survived the crash running into that photographer, and the public stepped out. He got back on his bike. He courageously bashed away up. He actually fought his way up to get up to the yellow jersey group, and at one time he looked like he could further down the road, but he put in a perfectly timed effort to get up to the yellow jersey group. They discounted him when he went round the road because they just thought, well, we dropped this bloke once before. But Guerini coming back here, twice third in the Tour of Italy, stage winner in the Tour of Italy, now got a stage victory in the Tour de France, and what better to do than win on the Alpe d'Huez. That's the third consecutive victory for Italy, because Pantani won 2 victories on the trot last year and the year before. And now coming up here, Tonkov, the Russian rider for Mappe Quick-Step, is coming up to take second spot as Escartin launched himself out of the pack here. Veronka's not got enough in his legs to come through and take a podium place as Armstrong rides in, confident to know that he's kept all the main contenders for the crown comfortably in the same position they were this morning. And in fact, he's already put a worse distance between himself and Olano. A great distance for him, but a worse one for Olano, who is way off the pace, and it's going to be an awful long time before Olano comes into sight. This is the man who helped to get Escartin up the climb, to get Escartin finally in the third spot. He's riding on here, Contreras, one of the double acts which they have with the Kelme Costa Blanca Eurosport team. But the victory going to Guerini with a brilliant performance. Typical bill of a climber, 1 metre 78, 65 kilograms, but also he had the confidence to attack the top men and came through. But this man must surely be, as far as France is concerned, the hero of the day. Although Veronka's coming to the first Frenchman on Bastille Day, this fellow's been out there for something around about 140 kilometres of racing, and he's coming through now. That's around about nearly 100 miles of racing. He went out with Bourguignon to begin with, a 37-year-old from the Big Mat Overlay team, and then coming up here on the Alpe d'Huez, he just finally got caught in the last 4 kilometres. Stefan Erlo from La Française des Jeux. There's happiness in the hearts of the Frenchmen who've had him out there for so long, but he didn't quite make it in the end, coming in just 1 minute 40 seconds down on Guerini. And here comes Olano. Well, this morning the gap between Zuller and Olano was 1 minute and 44 seconds, and Olano has now lost his second place to Zuller. So a position on general classification will be Armstrong, Zuller, then Olano, because Morrow, who's lying in third spot this morning, is way down, and I think Dufo is also been out of the frame, so he's going to drop down, and maybe Escartin, who set out this morning just 1 minute and about 6 seconds clear of Dufo, might have moved up to fourth.
Well, Well, that was a tremendous solo performance from Giuseppe Guerini, the Italian for Telecom, who nearly came adrift thanks to that spectator. Afterwards, we said to him, that really was a great victory. You showed tremendous courage. And he said, well, at the beginning of the climb, I had a bit of trouble keeping up with the pack. They started the climb much quicker than I'd expected. However, on the last 5 kilometres, I felt good, and I knew that the other riders in the pack were riding for the overall ranking. So I thought, well, rather than finish maybe 5th or 6th, I'd attack 100% and try to win. And I did. Tell us about the crash, he was asked, with that man in the middle of the road. Well, I saw him in the middle of the road trying to take a photograph. I didn't know whether to go left or right to try and avoid him. I swerved to the left as it looked a bit quicker, but he moved to the left as well. So I crashed into him. But it all worked out in the end, didn't it? Let's just take another look at it. He went left, the photographer went left, and they both came a burler, and that could have cost Guerini the stage. It could have cost him the Tour de France, just supposing he'd broken his collarbone, for goodness sake. Anyway, fortunately, all was well in the end. Jean-Francois Peychaud is the Tour de France, one of the Tour de France directors, and he had this to say. Unfortunately, there was a spectator who wanted to take a picture. I think he must have got a good one because he took it really close to Guerini, so close that he made him crash. Riders have to understand, of course, that bike races are organised on public roads, and there can always be dogs, baby carts, kids who cross the road at the last moment. It can happen every day, anywhere. They have to be very, very careful. We're careful. We send messages to the public through the newspapers, the radio, the television. But what else can we do? We can't put a policeman behind every single spectator, can we? Fortunately, the accident had no influence on the result, as Guerini still won the stage. But it does mean spectators must be respectful to the riders at all times, avoiding doing anything careless. And we do appeal to them to remember this in the days that are still to come on this Tour de France. Those are the words of Jean-Francois Peychaud, one of the Tour de France's directors. Well, it all ended well in the end for Guerini. We'll have more on this gripping stage to Alpe d'Huez after this break.
The Motorcycling World Championship.
Well, there's the result of the stage to Alpe d'Huez. Guerini getting there, 21 seconds clear of Tonkov and 25 seconds clear of the pack containing the yellow jersey. But Armstrong, of course, the winner in the long term, gaining time on a number of his other rivals. Altogether, a good day for Guerini and a good day too for Lance Armstrong. But just let's take another look at the stupidity of this rider. There was all that room, of course, but it was taken up by the spectators, and there you see the photographer, the member of the public in the distance, standing in the middle of the road. Oh dear, he really should not have been there, should he? Tony Rominger, we spoke to him at the end of the stage about that and other things. He said, I really liked the stage because of Guerini's rebirth. Remember, he had a lot of problems in yesterday's stage at Sestriere, but he made it a great finish today, although there was a lot of suspense because of his crash, even though I'm glad to say that he was still able to win. The other problem we saw today is that the good finishers from yesterday had a lot of difficulties. They paid for their earlier efforts in this very fast stage that we had to Sestriere. So everybody was a little bit tired today, and I think you could feel it for some of them when you were watching them, the way they were riding their bikes. Everybody was tired, but all the big names were still in the front, weren't they? Well, yes, of course, everybody was at the front, but nobody could really make much difference. We saw some attacks, but I had thought that Alex Zuller could have made perhaps one more attack. But like I said before, the efforts they made during the first 10 days, really, were so big that in the end, I suppose you've got to pay for them, and that's why not too many of them were able to make the attacks. Well, we did see the attacks in the end, didn't we? And Guerini's was the best of them. Tonkos was pretty good too, coming in second place. But now it's time for us to take a look at the overall rankings following that dramatic day to Alpe d'Huez. Well, the net result is that Armstrong's overall lead increases. Olano just holding on, in fact, to second place by 5 seconds ahead of Zuller. Duffield, Escartin, Veron. But look, only 4 of his challengers are within 10 minutes of the American. It's beginning to look good for Lance Armstrong, even though we've still got some way to go to Paris. many miles to be ridden, but a lot of people are saying that this tour, barring accidents, and in view of what happened on this stage, we shouldn't say too much about that. They're saying that he should turn out to be the winner. Fiorot still in the polka dot jersey, and I should also remind everyone that Stuart O'Grady from Crédit Agricole is still in green. Now, there were lots of Dutch fans on Alpe d'Huez. In fact, they call it the Dutch Mountain. They always come up here simply because, over the years, there have been more Dutch riders winning at Alpe d'Huez, believe it or not, than those from any other country. They come up here each and every year, the Dutch. They make it quite a party. The former Tour star Eric Dekker said, yeah, it's very beautiful, and for them it's just one big party. Can you hear what they say when you pass them? Yeah, you can sometimes. What do they say? They just support you and have a laugh and a joke. They say, yeah, it's really nice. I should say present Tour star, not former Tour star. He's still very much a present Tour star, isn't he, Eric? There's a close-up of Eric's machine. Well, Dutchman Tim van Vliet, former Tour star, he's definitely a former Tour star, now works for the Société de Tour de France's public relations department. And he said, when I was a rider, it was very nice to see the orange colour of Holland. The people gave you a push. I know they shouldn't do, but they did. And it was a great atmosphere. Every day for the Dutch was a party on Alpe d'Huez. There were always lots up on the mountain the evening before the race, so that they really enjoyed it very much when the riders went passing by. In fact, a lot of them, by the time the riders came, were already drunk. It was just one big party for them all. Well, that's the view of Teun van Vliet, who is with us on the Pro Tour once again this year. Nice to see him on the Tour de France as well. But it might have been a party for a lot of the spectators, but it certainly wasn't a party for one Dutchman, the former Dutch champion Michael Bogert, because up to Alpe d'Huez, believe it or not, he came in over 12 minutes down on the stage winner Guerini. Teun van Vliet went on to say, yes, it's a habit for the Dutch people coming to Alpe d'Huez. They know that here there's always going to be a lot of fellow Dutchmen for them to join with. That's why they want to come. It's just a big camping holiday for the Dutch on Alpe d'Huez. The Dutch mountain, Alpe d'Huez, I like it. Well, of course, Joop Zoetemelk was the first Dutchman to do it back in 1976, and there have been plenty of Dutchmen since, as I said. Now then, let's look ahead with Tony Rominger. The stage to Saint-Étienne. Well, Tony says it's going to be very difficult. I think it's going to be a great spectacle, he said, because after 2 stages in the Alps, going into the Massif Central with a climb just before the finish is going to be very, very hard. I think especially the riders who are tired are going to pay for it. In this stage, we've already seen some dramas before. I remember Claudio Cappucci. I don't know what year. He lost the Tour de France to Greg LeMond. I think it was 1989. He made up good time in the Alps, but then he had a bit of a reaction in this particular stage to the Massif Central, and he lost about 3 or 4 minutes. Now, these minutes were still his deficit at the end in Paris, so I think it's a stage in which mistakes really cannot be made. You can't afford to make any mistakes on this stage in the Massif Central. The view of Tony Rominger looking ahead to stage 11 of this 1999 Tour de France. Well, just a reminder, it's from Le Bourg d'Oisans to Saint-Étienne, a distance of 198.5 kilometres. We go live at 10 minutes to 3 CET here on Eurosport. That's 10 to 2 in the UK, with highlights at the usual time, 9 CET. That's 8 in the UK. I hope you're going to join us for that. But for now, from me, Mike Smith, it's time to say once again, bye for now.